We're here to talk about Tegrity.
Tegrity Studios.
Tegrity Studios. We got one thing nobody else got. Tegrity.
South Park is really good since the early years of what they've done is always keeping the integrity. And
they got Tegrity.
Recently I watched the newest Christmas special, and I watched a really old episode, and it had been ages since I watched any South Park at all. And it was cool to see just how, like, their perfect parody atmosphere and, like, what they're doing and that kind of energy of, like, this is serious, but it's a total joke and everything's a joke, and, like, but it's like, the world's gonna end! And yet it's just, like, like, so stupid. They've done that since the beginning.
Yeah.
And they're still doing it with integrity.
Every single episode has, like, the same tone to it of just being that so over the top ridiculous, and just they take no no liberties with anything they're doing. It's like, if there's a thing, they'll just push it all the way, like, as far as it can go. And the whole show is like that, with this weird undertone of just, this is important. So it's like absurdity. This is so important, and you don't really know what the scope or stakes are, like, ever, but it has that essence of just this is absolutely hilarious, and yet it's captivating in a sense of, like, how is it going to play out? Yeah. And
it's cool to see too that, like, in the latest Christmas special, like, there's a character Towley, and he was talking to Randy Marsh, and they were, doing all this stuff or whatever, and it's like, I don't know how Towley knows near Randy Marsh, because back in the day, like, Towley showed up early and it was like this odd, character that the kids met somehow, and it's like, how now all these characters are all this context is there, and, like, you can make a joke about Santa and Jesus and the elves and, like, all this stuff, and all the history of how these characters have been developed within the context of the show is all there for them to use and just, like, play with and
make jokes like, oh, it's not legal? Wait, I've been through this before. And it goes around doing campaigning, and it's like,
and, like, Randy goes and just, like, it's like this stuff. And I actually watched another South Park episode, and they were making fun of it was like George Bush was the president in this one, and he went up and he started to say this stuff about, like, Saddam Hussein and Satan and all this stuff, and it was like, that was all in other episodes, and that was actually stuff that had happened in other
movies and
in other episodes, and not just, like, a made up thing in the spot. It was actually, like, so just interwoven within itself.
It's a perfect mix of just the context of the show and how interwoven that is, real life stuff that's going on all the time. They're doing one, like, just so real time, mixed with, like, there's, like, these two worlds going on, and then the humor is just pushed to absurdity as, like, these ridiculous parodies, and this undertone of, like, kind of intensity about it that somehow that's all put together, and they really are everyone involved in making those shows and those episodes really mastered the craft of whatever that is. It's such a unique thing.
Yeah, and just all the concepts of, like, these 8-year-olds or in grade 8, or they're 8-year-olds, doing what they're doing, and people, then the adults thinking something else and not knowing, and then taking it too far, and, like, it's just it's got so much richness to it, but it's so silly, and it's like, after watching it, or not watching it for so long, I watched, like, 2 episodes, and I'm like, okay, I guess satisfied my my desire for this type of thing, and, like, glad it exists, and I could have a taste of this, like, specific kind of masterful art form. But then it's like, well, it's not really my cup of tea, totally.
Yeah, it's definitely not for everyone, and but it's one of those things where it's like, it would take so much to really master that craft, or, like, be able to have that, to go out of your way to do that kind of thing. Is just not something that everyone's going to do or whatever, and it's one of those things that it is so awesome that South Park exists in, like, every possible way, and I'm glad it does, and it could be out there, and at any point we could get a taste of it. But I'm definitely never going to do anything like that myself. Yeah. It's one of those things. That's a long list of stuff. There's so many things like that. But South Park is just like that perfect little bubble. It's like, this is awesome. It exists somewhere in the world. It's so awesome that exists. And dang, that is like, you could not do South Park better than South Park. Like, it's taken to that level, and there are very few things that have reached that bar of like perfection for what it's supposed to be, what it's trying to do. And,
yeah. And it's like, you can't be offended really, because they take everything so over the top that like absolutely everything is made fun of in such a ridiculous way that it's just like, it's not, it's just like with a joke. You see it's a joke. There's no undertone of like, this is actually serious, because they take seriousness to an extreme as well.
It's like, you've got one thing that nobody else has, Randy. Tegrity. And like every scene is, who is this making fun of? Yeah. Who is it not making fun of?
Yeah.
In some way. And it's quite brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give it a chance if you haven't before. Something to just really appreciate about it is that depth that's there. Like, it's really masterful depth.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting too to think of our stories, like in early behind the scenes packages of our projects. We have talked about our initial Lander Valley and what that was, and it was like a slapstick comedy, and we had jokes that were pushed in a different way but still as extreme as South Park. And if we kept going with that, what kind of crazy ball of
intercontextual
specific essence of like wackiness.
Yeah. All the different stories you could do with it too. Like, there's so many different South Park like bubbles of nothing like South Park, but some other thing in the world that exists, and you could just take any of these items of cool things that are just the best at what they do, and take them to the limit of how good they be at doing what they are. And South Park is one of many examples, but it'd be nice to collect them all, because there's so many interesting things people have done.
Maybe in some YouTube videos that you could just watch all the YouTube videos and get a little sample preview of what these things are, and then you can go in and actually look at the things yourselves. Alrighty, we'll continue working on our stories, and you'll be able to talk about those and make YouTube videos on those when they're out.
Yeah.
See you next time.